It's a Longbox.
Longbox.
It's the Longbox.
It's time for the Longbox. Let's sing some more and piss off the trolls and they get no hair. What? What the hell was that? Somebody just had to sing.
It had to be said, damn it.
Hell! Fuck off, trolls. Bigger than a mole. Because that's like, rock and roll speak.
So I've really been in the X-Men lately, and I wanted to talk.
I almost fucking shot Sprite out my nose. That would have not been pleasant.
That would have been
Making love to you is like Sprite shooting out of my nose.
So I've been in my ADHD hyper obsessive phase, and I've been I feel like the X-Men have been a weird blind spot in me and my nerddom. So I'm like, I need to beef up them numbers. They're rookie numbers,
Mm-hmm.
And so I've just kind of been finding as much X-Men comics and podcasts and shows that I can to kind of, because I'm excited for X-Men 97, and I kind of want to get caught up on that and kind of have a deeper understanding for the X-Men.
Can you, do you still use Comixology or whatever it is?
Yeah, well, and that's what I was going to talk about is I have Comixology, so I have the entire run of All New X-Men.
Nice.
Which is the Brian Michael Bendis run in I want to say 2012, 2013.
Is that when he brought back the original X-Men?
Yeah, so the timeline, it's post Avengers versus X-Men.
Yep.
Scott has killed Professor X.
Hey, he's back, by the way.
He's teamed up with Magneto, pretty much, and he's like this revolutionary.
Yeah.
Which, I got to be honest, this Cyclops is like evil, but I kind of like this more, the revolutionary Cyclops.
Yeah.
But... I don't know. I just think it made him because Scott's always been an interesting character.
Yeah.
I just kind of, I don't know. I felt like it was a cool story, and I honestly kind of agreed with him a little bit because Avengers versus X-Men was a weird storyline anyway.
Well,
and All New X-Men takes place after that, so I had already it wasn't like I was completely in the dark with this series because I had known about it because I had at that time I had read the Avengers versus X-Men stuff, so I had known about it.
I'd forgotten about it.
Well, and
my brother had all of them, and I read a lot of the stories and whatnot. I
mean, I felt like they made Cyclops kind of just turn evil. I don't know. I felt like I was kind of with Scott for a good portion of it, and then they're like,
he was infected with the Phoenix energy.
It's like when you see this thing where, in storytelling, where it's like, well, we have to make a bad guy. It can't. It's like I like to think of it as like professional wrestling. They don't like to do. When they do big time matches, they want it. We can't just have something in the gray. We have to have someone to clearly root against. And I just feel like they kind of made him turn his evil turn. Kind of made sense, but then it also kind of seemed a little abrupt because they had gotten to a certain point in that event that they had to, they're the halfway point. They got to spike the sale so that something big has to happen in the middle of the event.
Well, the cool thing about the Avengers vs. X-Men event was that, when it's basically the Phoenix Force.
Yes, that's what it turns
and it chose 5 X-Men, or 5 mutants. And it was Namor, Cyclops, Colossus, I think his sister, Magic.
And this is post House of M where a bunch of mutants have been killed.
Oh yeah, this is well past after mutants have come back they've been back for a while at this point. I can't remember who the Cyclops, Colossus, Namor.
Well,
it doesn't matter.
Anyway, this is all post that, and so Professor X is dead. Jean's school has been kind of destroyed. Mutants that aren't with Cyclops are on the run.
Yeah.
More mutant because of the Phoenix Force and the end of Avengers vs. X-Men, where that Phoenix Force kind of went out and gave all these other people powers. But we also find out, because I'm 5 issues in, we also find out that Magneto, Scott, and Emma Frost, those are the main ones that are leading this. Their powers are getting weakened because of their exposure to the Phoenix Force. And this whole comic is what I think is interesting about the X-Men, because the more I've been learning about the X-Men, the weirder the shit is. And how much they're tied to space and time travel, and like, because I had known about, so I had seen the movie Days of Future Past, but that is so different than what the comic book is. And like again, I'm just Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men is what I've been listening to, where they kind of do a really good job of breaking down that stuff, and I'm starting to learn to really fall in love with, like, or I'm not learning, but like I am starting to fall in love with X-Men, because. And that is the beauty of of comic books, where you could just find the right writer or the right series that you're interested in. And the reason I'm interested in this is because it's taking the original X-Men and putting them in the current continuity, and it's forcing Scott to deal with his choices. And being like, young Scott that we saw in the 60s would not agree with what this current Scott is doing. Killing Professor X and being like leading a mutant civil war, because if you stand out against him and Magneto and Emma, you could die. They'll kill you. Yeah, they don't care if you're a mutant if you're against their cause. Yeah, and it's an interesting story.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Yeah,
it's like 41 issues or something like that. And with Comixology Unlimited, I'm able to. They have all 4 volumes available, so I'm gonna kind of just blister through those, because I like Bendis. It's well paced.
Well, there was an Avengers versus X-Men comic, and I think it was 12 issues. Yeah. And then there's multiple tie-ins. Yeah. Multiple tie-ins.
Oh, the issue number 9 specifically, the Spider-Man one.
I don't
Avengers
know
versus X-Men is really good.
Well, then they decided to milk the fuck out of it by having AVX, which I don't know if you know about this, but it was another series that came out afterwards, and it was just literally fights. Oh. Like, hey, here's 2 stories in this issue. One is these 2 guys fighting, and the other one is these 2 guys fighting. I also think
it was
interesting, like Deadpool and Captain America. So, like, interesting. But still,
I also want to think that it was Disney's way of diminishing the product.
How do you mean?
By almost eliminating a bunch of the X-Men, trying to make Inhumans more of a thing than the X-Men.
Well, that was what House
pretty
of
much
M was,
lose in the
That's
Avengers.
what the House of M was supposed to do.
Yes, and all that stuff happened. Okay. And then Disney got the rights to X-Men back, and then all of a sudden House of X and Powers of X and all this stuff is happening. All the really good things are happening again, and they killed off the Inhumans. But we digress.
Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.